Nichuwana Waga Mikayana Unchubasa, everybody, and welcome to Performance E-Streaming. We are here at Kansas Speedway tonight. I'm Mr. Darth Wilkinson, Billy, and I'm joined by Yoda Joe and Mando Matt tonight. Of course, Mr. Mark Johansson and Matty Hunter. Mark, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. It's good to see a few guys out there with the Star Wars liveries on. And ladies and gentlemen, may the fourth be with you.
Absolutely, we are. Well, there's two major nerds up in the commentary box, and Matt. And Matt, of course, how are you keeping yourself tonight, good sir?
Yeah, going good, going good. Really interested to see these paint jobs where everyone's getting into the spirit of the May the 4th, so it's really good to see.
No, absolutely. We love to see some special paint jobs. Of course, not a fan of May the Fourth. I'm more of a Revenge of the Fifth guy myself. Always on the dark side. But we are here at Kansas tonight. It's going to be an interesting race. Of course, this place can bring up some interesting results. Few cars to watch out for tonight. I think the biggest driver to look out for tonight, Mark, is going to be Foster.
Yeah, Ed's coming off a win with us here last weekend, or with the Warriors last weekend at Kansas, and he really didn't do anything for the first 200 laps, and it was the last 50 laps where he worked his way to the front, but he doesn't have that time tonight to sit back and relax. I think he's going to have to, if he doesn't qualify well, he's going to have to get a move on a lot earlier tonight.
No, absolutely. It's going to be important to get a good qualification result tonight. We're looking at a fairly warm track as well. Track temperature up to 42 degrees Celsius, air temperature up at 25. That's going to make things tricky here because this place chews up the tyres. It's very, very fast. It tends to be very hard on the tyres as well, Kansas.
Yeah, definitely. On Saturday night, we've seen the guys very slippery in the first 10 laps or so. Then that settled down, and then towards the end of the stint, those tyres really got marshmallowy again.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that. Of course, we are on limited tyre sets. Of course, you get five for the race. Of course, the set you start on, and then 4 sets throughout the race. Few nice liveries out there. One we want to mention early on is this of Lachlan Oakvio, of course, in the SRM car with the TS livery, the Tourette's Syndrome Association of Australia livery, and a organisation that's extremely close to Lockie's heart and something he definitely is very proud to represent tonight. Let's hope that that car does well.
Yeah, very nice colour. I haven't really taken much notice of the Tourette's colours, but I'll tell you what, that teal that is a very, very nice colour. And again, the boys getting behind their favourite charities and really getting into the spirit of the competition and the rounds.
No, absolutely. Let's run through the starting grid for tonight's race. Up on pole position, it's Barry Neal doing a great job for the Kiwis tonight, getting up in P1 on row number 1 with Ruben Phelps on his outside. Row number 2 sees Daniel Hederscheid next to Edward Foster. On the 3rd row of the grid, we've got Jai Schultz with Dave Douglas. Row number 4 sees Adam Malone next to Toby Stent. On the 5th row, it's Pearson and Henderson. Darren Lobb and Stevie Dubb make her DPR row number 6. JCW is next to Jamie Nan Curtis. Nice to see Jamie back on row number 7. Row number 8 sees Norman Clark next to Andy Barber. Shane Bowen and Luke Georgeson make up the 9th row. Row number 10 sees Aidan Schultz next to Phil Otto. Row number 11, we've got Tom Neal and Andrew Dyson up there. On the 12th row, we've got Ryan Jones with Steve McLennan. Row number 13, unlucky for some, hopefully it won't be the case for these guys, Tristan Koch and Riley Curtis. 14th row sees Tomlin next to Aquito. Row number 15, we've got Patton next to Raymond. Then it is the 16th row, Darren McKenzie next to Kobe Jordan. And rounding us out is Gary Wellman and Mirko Dortnak on the 17th row.
Just spotted another great paint. Excuse me, from one of the SRM boys, Matty Ray. Mate, he's got the good old Death Star on on the car there tonight. So let's hope he doesn't have to use that earth-shattering laser out of it to get to the front.
Well, absolutely, could give it slightly unfair advantage using the old laser on the Death Star, and might destroy the track as well. So let's hope it does not get used. Another good-looking car up there is Dyson. Actually, we'll have to have a bit of a look at that in a moment. But we are coming around to get the race underway. Of course, this place, it's a fairly straightforward run, 130 laps. Be keen to watch out for people seeing how they can make it. But we're coming up to the green flag here. It's race number 12 of 36 for the Cup, and we go green here for 130 laps. Let's listen to these cars roar away. We're going to have a wreck on the first lap. There was a bit of contact up in the wall, and I think it was Toby Stent that got up there and collected just a bit of contact between Toby Stent and that was, I couldn't quite see who it was. It was Dave Douglas. Contact between Stent and Douglas in the first lap, and that sent Dave down and collected a fair few cars as the car went round on the back straight. See the replay here, you can see there's a little bit of contact in the start of the corner, a little bit as they go free wide early doors, and then runs up and into Stent he goes, and then around Dave Douglas will fly, and unfortunately I think a few cars getting caught in that. Aidan Schultz getting caught slightly heavily. But looks like most cars got away relatively clean.
Yeah, Dave's not been not had too. Last night he kind of sort of had a bad night at Mid Ohio in the Xfinity cars. Cooked them tyres up real bad, and tonight's not starting real well for him either.
Darren Lobb got very lucky in those moments. I think there was a little bit of contact on the black DPR car. But yeah, there's a lot of lucky drivers out there tonight because that was a nasty thing to have happen on the opening lap.
Aidan Schultz squeezed through there. I don't know how he missed Dave there. Maybe the force was with him.
He shut his eyes for sure. I think that's the only way he got through that one. A few cars coming down pit lane though. We've got Maddie Ray, Riley Curtis, Gary Wellman, Andrew Dyson, Dave Douglas, Lachlan Oakwood, Darren McKenzie, Kobe Jordan, all coming into pit lane. A few of those will just be to get a couple of quick repairs, I'm sure, but a lot of them I think are going to be maybe doing a couple of tweaks to the setup. Of course, if you are new to the ANZCAR Cup, well, first of all, welcome to Performance Streaming and the Cup. But secondly, we are running a sort of hybrid open setup race, and it just makes it so everybody starts on the same setup. They all start on a fixed setup, essentially. But in the first pit stop, they can come down and change a couple of things on the car. The main thing being tyre pressures and the bump on the suspension. So I'm sure a couple of people have come down pit road, just tweak the tyre pressures a little bit, let a little bit of air out of there just to help them in the long run of the stint. I think a few of them also topping up on fuel as well.
Yeah, I think most of them would have been for fuel. Just had a chance to go through a couple of these paints. Ruben Phelps up the front there. He's got a classic Star Wars scene on his car there with Darth and Luke having a nice little lightsaber fight. And of course Andrew Dyson, all black car tonight for him. So very nice, very well presented.
I think the big star for Andrew Dyson's car is having the right font for the text on the side, having it in the Star Wars font on the side of it just gives it that little bit of extra pop. It looks very, very cool indeed.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's as I said, it's great to see the boys go to town and really get into the spirit of the Star Wars theme.
couple of drivers just coming in just to top up their tanks a little bit more. Kobe Jordan, Tristan Koch, both deciding to pack a little bit more fuel in there. So that will be handy as well. And yeah, should be a really interesting little start. Hopefully we get back to green flag racing. We get a decent green flag run now, as we've had a bit of a missed start of the night, and hopefully things will settle down and get back to, well, the usual action.
Yeah, I think they'll settle in and settle down. A lot of these guys ran on Saturday night, so they know what the track is going to do. Very similar weather conditions. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys go. Mr. Foss is sitting back there in 6th place, so he's at the right end early in the race.
Yeah, it's keep an eye on some of these cars. Notari are looking pretty strong up the front. They've got a lot of cars up in the front end area that could be helpful for them in this race, but we'll see how that plans out, because we know how quick Barry Neal is, and he's got a clean road in front of him. This could be the perfect place for him to start tonight and take a win for that car. As Neil gets away nicely in the restart zone. It's hanging a bit on the, he was really revving it to the maximum in that car. I'd be interested to know actually what gear he sort of was looking to start in, because that thing was absolutely redlining up to the line. And I think he actually started in 1st gear in that one. As you can see, the action really wild out on track at the moment. We've got 3, 4 wide at the front of the field. Drivers really going for it early stages.
Yeah, we just seen there Adam Malone get up and touch the fence. So again, this is another place where you can give a couple of light taps of the wall, but you don't want to be doing it too often, because on Saturday night we've seen one or two of the boys just touch that a little bit too hard and knock that front steering out. So they'll have to be careful of that.
Interesting to see who can run the lower lines as well, because this place, it does favour the high line, but we know a few drivers are very capable of running the mid to low line here, and if you can get it working, it can be very useful indeed.
And we've got a change lead. We've got Daniel Hederscheider up into the front, but Barry Neal fighting back on the outside. But Daniel's been able to hold that top spot, and he will settle in now and really put the hammer down.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to see if any of those drivers that came in for changes, if that's going to affect the race, because it happened with, well, no laps being run, of course. They might be able to run a little bit better in the long run with a few tweaks to the car. So we'll see how that plays out in the as the race unfolds, of course. Up the front, it is Daniel Hederscheider building up a fairly decent lead at the moment. He is going away like a little bit of a bumful of dynamite at the moment, really charging away up the front. Barry Neal's keeping calm in 2nd place, but he's got Foster coming up towards him. No, Neil Pearson sits in 4th position. He's got a little bit of a lead over this battle between Ruben Phelps and Toby Stent now. Ruben Phelps on the inside trying to make that low line work. It looks like it's not working too well as he loses a position, not just to Toby Stent, but also to Adam Malone.
Yeah, and JCW now having a look outside, and Joyce Schultz will go with JCW. We seen on Saturday night that bottom line really didn't come in until around the lap 50. But there's not a lot of guys down there tonight. Everyone's running up that high line, and Ruben's decided to come up to mid-track.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Of course, running the high line can be a bit easier on the tyres. It doesn't put too much pressure on them, and just helps with the wear and heat a little bit. Great battles going on towards the back end of the field. We've got cars 2 to 3 wide. I was watching back there, Andrew Dyson, Dave Douglas working their way up a little bit. Phil Otto having a good run as well. Jamie Nankervis, who was that touching the wall? Is it Christopher Tomlin just giving the wall a little nibble there in the bluey car. As I said, Mark, you can get away with a couple of nibbles of the wall. You just got to be careful not to do it too often and not take a big hard bite, because if you take that bite, then it's going to be really painful for you towards the end.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people say, how can you touch the wall like that? Well, if you touch the wall square on, it's really rubbing the whole side of the car. That's where they get just that little nose in first, and it tends to really do a great deal of damage.
3 wide here. Has got the 81 of Henderson there with Ryan Jones and Shane Bowen really battling it out at the moment. And I do apologise if I call the wrong cars tonight, just because of the change of paint jobs. Very easy to quickly look at something and then not realise who it is. I do love the special paint jobs, but it does make calling a race a little bit trickier sometimes, doesn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it definitely does. You've really got to look at the numbers and try and remember the numbers. But it's even hard sometimes with some of the paint schemes. The numbers tend to blend in. But again, Carl, it's just something we have to get used to.
Up at the front, sorry, we've got to move for P2 as Foster looks to make the pass on Barry Neal here, going down the inside. And we're seeing Foster in that Weekend Warriors race. He was able to run at some different lines here and make them work. And at the moment, he's doing just that as he moves up into P2 in this race. He's got his teammate Daniel Hederscheid up in first.
Yeah, we've seen Ed really run some strange lines on Saturday night. Right up against the wall when you tend not to stay up there in the turns, but a few laps he was right up there in the marbles and was able to make the high line work for him. And we see Dyson here battling 4 wide almost there between Nankervis, Mackenzie, Dyson and Phil Otto, I believe that was in the one car.
Crazy stuff going 4 wide. It takes a lot of bravery pills to do that one, but they've made it work, and that's even better to see. Nice to see that happening. I think we might have lost Darren Lopp from the race. Unfortunately, it looks like his connection failed on him, so he's going to be out from a mechanical failure, sadly.
And it looks like Tom Neal didn't even get to start, so that's unfortunate for him.
Never fun when those things happen. Technical gremlins are never things that we like to see in racing. We'd rather see the moves and positions being gained out on track. Some good racing here. Got Gary Wellman, Norman Clark and Nigel Patton there on side by side with each other, and I think that might have been Darren Lobb just getting back out on track there. So he's managed to get back out there after a few kicks to the router, and he managed to get back out on track. Good for him, but he is 5 laps now.
Yeah, very quickly to disconnect and reconnect. So that's good to see him back out there and get at least some points for the night.
This midfield and lower down the pack is some really exciting racing at the moment. A few cars really battling it out there, and some really great action going on at the moment. It's what we love to see out on track. Meanwhile, up the front, the lead is about to change, I think, as Foster makes a big lunge down the inside. He cuts across the infield section and moves up into first place there. Not too much defending going on from his teammate.
No, just nice gentleman racing. Go right ahead, Mr. Foster. You can take the lead. I will mention one other paint scheme. Kobe Jordan, a different livery for him tonight in the 080. A nice pearl white and blue car with the black that looks very smart for the inside lane productions. Yeah,
that is a very nice looking car. That is a very pretty looking livery, that one. Really just, it's nothing too bizarre, nothing too out there. It's not too dramatic, but it's just a nice, sleek, clean livery. And clean liveries sometimes are some of the best you can have. Really nice job there.
Yeah. When do we go to Darlington? Next week. Kobe, don't run that paint at Darlington. That's going to have a nice big black stripe down the side.
Yeah, you always want to run just a black paint job at Darlington, just to hide those stripes. Just looking through the field, big movers at the moment. One of the biggest movers is Lachlan Urquio in the 42. He's having a solid run up there, up 14 positions so far in this race, really carving his way up through the field and getting a lot of spots early on. The next biggest mover is Ryan Jones in the 11. He's up 13 spots in the race tonight, and he's hoping to have a solid run up there. He's just got just ahead of Shane Bowen at the moment. A bit of a gap between himself and Stevie Gull in front of him. So some of the gaps are starting to fill in this field as the tyres are starting to drop off a little bit as well.
Yeah, just seen Christopher Tomlin touch the wall again, so he's going to have to be very careful. I think that's 3 or 4 times now he's up to scrape the wall, and he's in the wall again. So that car is going to be looking a little second hand down the right side.
As we've got 3 wide action here as Ruben Phelps goes underneath. Now Lockie's looking to make the move as well. We're underneath Aidan Schultz and Shane Bowen there. Really racing off a corner. They split that to 2 wide. Aidan Schultz, Shane Bowen up on the high side. Lockie on the low side. Looks like Ruben Phelps is trying to get past Ryan Jones as well. Looks like Ryan's just struggling a little bit in this stage of the race. He might just be struggling a little bit with tyre heat at the moment, and just falling back after that big run up the field. Also mentioned that Lachlan Oko is the highest running car that's come through pit lane as well. As Aidan Schultz just collects the wall there, bit of a check up behind, and he slots back in nicely and keep themselves clean, but that was a big heart-stopping moment there.
Definitely not something you want to be doing in a pack like this. It's going to be very easy for guys to turn themselves around as we see the sun disappear behind the clouds, so that'll cool things down just a little.
Andrew Dyson now joining this battle, another of those cars that has come through pit lane, possibly done a couple of tweaks to the vehicle, and got to say, with Lachlan Oko, he's made 17 spots now. He's really flying up through the field, and that car looks very settled. So I think maybe a couple of quick changes down pit lane. He's done a good job on that one. It looks relatively stable at the moment.
It definitely does. You just got to hope that the boys remember to not change anything on the next pit stop if they find something. As we see 3 wide here.
Andrew Dyson darting down the inside, up high, goes in front of Ryan Jones there, and Dyson's car as well, looking like a rocket ship now as well, with those little tweaks done to the car. I've got to say, maybe that little tweak is helping them out a little bit. They're not eating up the tyres quite as quickly. As you see the very different lines as we come across the tri-oval section as well. You've got cars dropping below the line, cars keeping up on the high line, and that can sometimes cause problems. Darren McKenzie now storming his way up towards the front as well. Another one of those cars that came through pit lane. So he's working his way up nicely and coming off a very good run at Mid-Ohio yesterday.
Yeah, last night's winner. So he's be looking to make a good meal of tonight and getting into that top 10.
Few cars that were just taking it easy in the early stages are coming back to them now, and one of those cars is Barry Neal at the front of the field. He's closing the gap a little bit to Daniel Hedderscheid, and it's not really been extending out the front, so interesting to see some of the drivers deciding just to go a little bit easier in the early stages and then put their foot down in the latter laps, and it's really paying off for them at the moment, as they've obviously not got too much heat in those tyres, now able to put a little bit more of a run on some of those other cars.
Again, further back in the field, mate, Aidan Schultz has dropped down a couple of spots since we last checked on him. Shane Bowen's got in front of him. So Aidan's just struggling a little bit now, dropping off the pace just that ever so slightly. And Mackenzie will be the next car to try and get past him. And we're still running Darren Lobb. He's a lap down, or a couple of laps down, but he's definitely trying to get past his teammate Dyson, which he does, and now he sets out after Ruben Phelps to try and get one or two of those laps back.
Yeah, he's on a good, much fresher tyres as well, Darren Lobb, so he's probably just able to take a little bit more speed at the moment after that, unforced trip down pit lane when his connectivity dropped. So he's able to just get a little bit more speed in that car. Just looking through the field and up at the front again, it's starting to close a little bit for P2. The battle is closing in. Barry Neal's just taking some different lines to head aside, and he's trying to put a little bit of pressure there. You see Barry Neal's able to take that much lower line. That's giving him a bit of a speed advantage through the lap and closing that gap lap after lap after lap. But while these two are starting to close up, the two behind them are closing up too, and that's Neil Pearson and Toby Stent. So what was looking like a couple of cars battle turned into a almost 5-car battle now for the lead of the race. They're sort of closing up steady but surely.
Yeah, definitely closing that gap. JCW just seems to be struggling a little bit here tonight, even though he's up in 6th place. He just doesn't seem to have the speed of his teammates out in front.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see him starting to close up that gap in the latter stages of the stint, though. I wonder if that will be part of his plan, as we should be looking about 20 odd laps until they start thinking about pit stops.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. I think it was around 55 laps on Saturday night they got out of the tank, but it's not 100% the same weather conditions, so that will play a little bit of a role. But I'd say probably anywhere from, say, 61 onwards, they'll be looking at getting into the pits.
That is it. I'm trying to take it as long as humanly possible as well, just in case that caution flag comes out. But I wonder if some people will try a little bit of the undercut as well, just popping in, trying to get some fresh boots on the car a little bit earlier and seeing if they can take advantage of some fresher tyres and close the gap. Of course, that all fades away if the caution flag comes out, but if we remain green, which we could well do, that could really pay off for somebody tonight.
Yeah, well, the car that normally does it is that teal car that you've got on screen there now, Matt, the 27 of George Schultz. He's the master at the alternate strategy. So keep an eye on when he's going to come down. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
The gap between himself and Andrew Dyson is closing a little bit. As you say that, he's coming into pit lane.
He must have heard me.
Almost perfect call and clairvoyancy there from Mark Johansson. Of course, he does use the force to call his pit stops.
I was going to say he definitely heard me over the telepathic waves. So we'll see him take 4 tyres. This place you don't even think about the two tyre option, unless it's a green white checker where you just change that left side and try and get a little bit of an advantage with the working side.
Got Stephen Plennon in as well, so another car just taking advantage of that alternate strategy, sitting a bit further down the field, but he's going to try and take advantage of that. So this will be interesting to see what cars can do on a fresh set of boots in this race now. We'll start seeing some different times, and we'll start seeing where they come out compared to the leaders, and how many laps they lose for going through pit lane. Looks like Jai's just lost the 1 lap in total, so he's going to be sitting relatively good. He's going to want to try and get that lap back as soon as possible. It'll be a bit of time before that happens.
Well, he is in the lucky dog spot, so if a caution comes out now, we will see him get the lucky dog and get the wave around and get back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, that is it. It's always nice to be in that spot just in case something happens. Just keeping yourself in the race and keeping yourself in a good position, always important stuff. As running through, I think maybe Stephen Plennon has caught himself a penalty as he's had to come back down the lane again. So Obviously, something's not on right there, but we've got some good racing on the track here at Stevie Dub with Andrew Dyson.
and Lachlan Erpio and Adam Malone just sitting in the background there.
Yeah, they've closed this gap up very quickly, actually. I'm just going back to double check that you don't make a mistake, but no, it's just closing up that gap, really, as Malone and Williams were battling out, and that's let these two cars close the gap. And they've had some terrific pace in this race. Obviously, the couple of changes they did is working out very well for them. They are some of the faster cars out on track, fastest still being Foster and Heppershide, but yeah, it's really starting to speed up. Just had a bit of a clatter to the wall then. I think it was Stevie Dub just getting a bit of a heavy hit in the wall, and he's got away relatively unscathed, just a little bit of green paint left out there in a bit of a smear.
I'm just looking at the times. The last lap for Ed was a 32.3, and he's just over a second slower than his best time. But those front three guys are all roughly the same time. They're all in the 32 threes.
Pearson in pit lane, so one of the front runners has decided it's time to come down the lane, and that's Neil Pearson. So I imagine he's going to be getting some useful information from Andrew Dyson, his teammate, of course, who's come down pit lane already, changed a few things. He'll be getting some useful details on what to tweak, what not to tweak, and we'll be getting back out on track, and should see him jump the leaders and get the lead of the race if we remain green. Brian Jones as well, another one of those higher up runners coming down pit lane. So they're starting to come in one by one here.
I thought some of them would stay out and run the whole tank out, because they definitely can't get home from here on just this one stop. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a two-stop race for them. But I really thought some of them, especially the likes of Jones and Pearson, to stay out there and run that full tank out.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the rest of the front runners react to this one, because it'll be interesting to see who decides, because Barry Neal's actually just coming in as well now, so it locks up a little bit coming into pit lane.
Let's hope he was able to pull that up and get it under the speed limit of pit lane before he hit that cone.
Very easy to get a speeding penalty when you lock up the tyres, and it's very easy to make a mistake like that as well. Obviously, coming into pit lane in these cars is never easy, and you've got to do it on cold tyres, as Daniel Hedeshide's coming in as well. So maybe the fuel runs that we were thinking are not quite as long as we were expecting, Mark.
Yeah, definitely not by the look of it. Unless they've Daniel's been down. No, he hasn't been down pit lane, so he hasn't made any changes. Unless the performance and the handling of the car's really gone off now, as the tyres are 40 odd laps old.
That could absolutely be it too. So interesting to see how this is going to play out. Yeah, fuel limit is 80%. So that explains it. So yeah, that changes a little bit. So probably around about 50, 55 then for fuel, if you're able to stretch it out. As I think Foster's going to be coming into pit lane now, and he's going to pull it up and get in there, and very smoothly done for the 53, and that's going to promote Toby Stent into the lead of this race. And they'll be doing a few tweaks to the cars as well. As I said earlier, of course, we do run a fixed open setup in this series. So every car has the same setup at the start of the race, but they can change things in pit stops. It's very limited to what you can change, but those little tweaks can make a big difference.
Watching Toby Hughes coming up on the back of Darren Lobb. But Darren's just got that speed over him on those fresher tyres, of course. So wonder if we'll see Toby in pit lane anytime soon.
He could well be looking at coming in the next lap or two. Can't imagine he's got much more fuel left in that car, and I think he's pitting now. So Toby Stent's going to be coming down pit lane. I think JCW is also going to be joining him, and that's going to promote Andrew Dyson into the lead. Lachlan Oakio into the lead of the race, because Lockie has got past Dyson.
That's a great result for Lachlan to get a couple of laps led. Well done, Lockie. And of course he came in and got fuel early, so he'll be able to run probably another 10 laps soon, and then we'll have to come down pit lane.
Absolutely, he's running very well out there in the SRM car, of course, supporting Tourette's Australia. Of course, and just pop the link up in the YouTube channel as well if you want any information on the Tourette Syndrome Association of Australia. Please head over there and give your support. It's always a great thing to do, helping out people who need a little bit of help, and also getting the awareness out there as well for the condition of Tourette's. But you can see those cars on fresh tyres just sailing past underneath Lachlan Oakio now, getting their laps back. That's the difference of cars on fresh boots compared to those that have done 50 odd laps.
I was going to say, I really hope Lachlan didn't want to come down pit road there, because he was in a very awkward spot, stuck on the outside of those cars on fresh rubber.
Yeah, not the position that want to be in. Currently, the most frugal driver out there is Lockie. Just gets close to the wall there. Ruben Phelps, who has done about 52 laps so far in this stint, and it looks like he might be going around again. So it's showing that you can do a fair few laps in these cars before you need fuel if you've been saving a little bit. And I think that's what Ruben was doing earlier on in the stint. He lost a few positions, just wasn't pushing as hard as some of the other drivers. So he was just gaining a little bit more fuel, trying to get a little bit longer into this stint. So I think we're going to see Oakio coming in this time round as well, as he's dropping very low, losing speed, slowly. As he comes in pit lane, is Dyson joining him? Yes, he is. Look at the difference there. Dyson closing up the gap very early on, locks the brakes a little bit, gets very, very close to Lachlan Oakio, and they get into their pit stalls. This is a big strength, though, of Andrew Dyson, pit stops. He is very good at carrying the speed through pit lane and taking advantage of the pit time, transition time. He's very quick, usually, down pit lane, and his pit entry and pit exit speeds, usually some of the best out there. So we'll just see as Lachlan just keeps ahead of Dyson there. Very well done for Lachlan Oakio. He just keeps himself just ahead of Andrew Dyson there. So very well done indeed.
Yeah, very close. Dyson made up a lot of time closing in on pit lane, and yeah, he just had to take the same amount of fuel and everything, so Lockie was able to retain that spot.
This promotes Darren McKenzie into the lead of the race. He's done 53 laps so far. Of course, he was another driver that came down pit lane, chucked a little bit of fuel in there, but he's stopping now. So about 53 laps seems to be the maximum. 54 laps, I reckon you can squeeze out if you try, but you won't be making it around for another lap if you take that extra lap by looks of things. Neil Pearson, though, is going to be leading the race now. The driver that came in a little bit earlier, I said watch out for that one. On those fresh tyres, he's made up a fairly nice gap over Daniel Hederscheid, Barry Neal and Ed Foster. Ed losing out a little bit in those pit stops.
Yeah, I think he came out and he just got balked a little bit by a couple of lap cars as he was coming out of pit lane. So I I wouldn't be sweating yet. It's one of those drivers that will be able to make up those spots.
Neil Pearson's got a healthy 4.7 second lead over Daniel Hederscheid at the moment. So he really chose that stop at the right time. But of course now he has to do he has to do less laps. So he's going to have to pit a little bit earlier, and his tyres are going to be dropping off the cliff a little bit sooner as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this run unfolds for the 62.
Yeah, and this wouldn't be helping him either. He's had to just slow down that little bit. He's got caught there behind Brenda Henderson, and I just can't see who that
Riley Curtis.
Riley Curtis there. So just balked a little bit, and that will see that. No, it's actually blown the gap out a little bit to 4 seconds, just over 4 seconds, now nearly 5.
Yeah, while he's struggling to get through traffic, so is everybody else. That's the reason. So it's the game now of getting past those lapped cars. If you can get some free air, you've got to take advantage of it. But of course, it is NASCAR racing, it's oval racing. You're not obliged to move over if you're being lapped. It's the lead drivers. Well, it's their job to get past you. It's not your job to let them pass. There's no blue flags in ovals. And we are seeing that here tonight because people are racing hard for their positions. We've still got 32 cars in this race, and 30 of them are on the lead lap. 30 of them. 20 of them are on the lead lap, and the rest of them are just a lap down, I should say.
We'll start looking at, as you see on screen. Lachlan's been able to gap Dyson just that little bit, but the couple of laps before we come to him, Lachlan and Dyson and JCW were having a great little battle there, and for 2 laps prior to this, we've seen them changing spot each couple of times per lap, each lap.
Another move for position is Foster and Barry Neal, those two battling out on track. The 53 going up high and getting past the 22 of Barry Neal. Foster's starting to get a little bit of that time back, moving his way up the field. Gap to the lead is closing now as well. It's dropped to 4.5 seconds. So now they've got a bit of fresh air. Daniel Hederscheid is closing that gap to Neil Pearson, and that's kind of expected on those slightly fresher tyres. They're fresher by about 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, about 5 laps, Carl. You're right there. Definitely about 5. But we can see now back further back, Urquio and Dyson have cleared out from JCW and Co. So they've now decided to put the hammer down and are out after these guys in front of them.
Neil Pearson just making a little bit of a mistake there. He just had to dab the brake a little bit, just ease off the throttles. He just collected the wall. That lost him over a second in the lead, so that's really going to hurt him in this stint.
And again, we've got to hope that he hasn't done any damage to that steering. And we can see Norman Clark closing in there on him. So good to see Norman out there again tonight. He's the first car a lap down in 23rd spot.
Of course, there is the new damage, isn't there? There's the cumulative damage that builds up over time as well. If you keep scraping the car, if you keep just tapping it, keep just getting little bits of damage, that can really hurt you in the long run sometimes. It can sometimes break things that you sort of just don't want breaking.
Yeah, sorry. Just watching Urquio and Dyson. Dyson just gave Urquio a couple of love taps down the back straight as they come back through the D section now. This battle is definitely on between these two, but right at the moment, Lachlan definitely has Dyson's measure, as Dyson just looks like he's touched the wall there.
Now, those two are catching Adam Malone at a vast rate of knots at the moment. they are closing the gap very, very quickly on Malone, as they are on some of the freshest tyres out here. Their tyres have only done about 11 laps in this run, so they've got a fair bit of pace advantage over some of those other drivers, and they're taking advantage of it at the moment and really moving their way up there. Remember, those two cars also had a good lick of speed after their first stop. Of course, they stopped under that first caution, and it seemed after that they were running extremely well with those little tweaks to the car. And since then, they've been some of the faster cars on track.
Yeah, that Chevrolet just seems like it's on rails tonight. It's good to see Lachlan have a good run. Let's hope I haven't just put the mocker on him as he's closing in on Ryan Jones. He's definitely one of the quicker cars out there at the moment. His last lap was a 31. I've lost him. 31.3. So he's definitely one of the quicker cars there at the moment.
He is. Edward Foster's meanwhile moving up into P2 as they're just passing Ryan Jones on the screen. Foster moving up past Daniel Hederscheid. Now Barry Neal's putting the pressure on Hederscheid as well. Foster's car is looking like a rocket ship at the moment, and I say that's more down to driver than car at the moment, because he is very quick around this place, and he's obviously a bit of a fan of this track, so he's doing a good run now. The gap now just 2.1 seconds to Neil Pearson, so that gap is closing very, very quickly. Won't be long until we have to jump over and see the battle for the lead. As Oquio and Dyson just get past Jai Schultz. Of course, Jai came in a little bit earlier than everybody else. His tyres are definitely going to be starting to feel the pain in this run as he goes a little bit longer. He's 34 laps into this run now, and that's the difference between 34 lap old tyres and 15 lap old tyres.
I'm just going back, I just made a note before. These two guys come out in 16th and 17th spot after that last stop, and they are now up into 6th and 7th. So they've made up 10 spots in this stint of 20 odd laps. So 20. Lost them.
Well, 16 laps they've done.
16 laps, yeah, 16 laps.
And
so,
of course they've done it twice tonight. So they started. Of course, they came down pit lane. They made up about 20 odd positions in that first run, and they've overtaken another 15, 20 odd cars in this run. They've had a busy night on track of passing.
Yeah, they certainly have. Maybe Lachlan should keep that paint on for the rest of the season, because it's definitely given him some good coat of speed.
Absolutely, and we all know in motorsport a good paint job is worth about an extra 10 to 15 horsepower. It really helps the car go faster. He's trying to close the gap to Toby Stent now, and this is a little bit closer on tyre strategies, these two cars. But Oquio is closing that gap to Stent. He's a couple of tenths quicker every lap, so he is closing the gap down to P5. But that will be a lot more work, I think, to get to P5 than it has been for the rest of positions. As we see up the front, side by side, the battle for P3 at the moment. It's Barry Neal, Daniel Hederscheid on the inside. We've got Barry Neal on the outside. It's Hederscheid. The battle of the Kiwis at the moment for P3.
I was just going to say too, that lead, but now that Pearson's got, that gap's down to 1.5 seconds. So Foster is really closing in.
Yeah, he's really taking that gap down, and it won't be long until we see those cars getting closer on track goes Daniel Hederscheid and Barry Neal there. Hederscheid just coming down to chop Neal's run off a little bit there, and gotta be careful with those sort of moves, because drivers are not too keen when you chop across the nose. And Barry, he's a driver that likes to take the gloves off sometimes. But good racing we're seeing here at the moment. They are really pushing hard on each other and very much racing for this P3.
And just back on the that battle we were watching before, Urquio has actually now got a 1.5 second gap over Dyson, and he's done it through traffic. So that car, that 42 car, is really got some speed in it tonight.
Yeah, he's having a solid run out there at the moment. We'll keep our fingers crossed it does, but we've got a great battle on track still for P3. It's Heddershide and Neil still side by side, still going at it, still very close to each other every lap. They are really, really gunning for it. Great to see this action. And again, Heddershide just manages to keep out front. But you've just got to say, Neil is pushing him extremely hard. And as these two drivers fight, it's closing the gap to Toby Stent and letting Foster build up more of a gap in front, and Neil Pearson as well. They're able just to leave themselves out a little bit further. So these two battling will be a great sight for those cars behind.
Sorry, Carl, I was just trying to work out who was in the red Mustang, the 194, and it's Andy Barber. He's having a nice quiet night, and but he's running in 21st place, so he hasn't come onto the radar for any reason. So another nice little run for him, staying out of trouble and getting some more experience in the Cup car.
Absolutely, and he's on the lead lap still, so that is always a good position to be in a race, because you know it only takes one little mistake and that caution flag will fly. So we're getting to the point where they can make it home on fuel. We've got 51 laps remaining, make it 50 laps remaining. So when will we see cars coming down pit lane, pulling in to make their final stop tonight? Of course, the longer you leave it, the better your tyre is going to be at the end of the race, but you could lose quite a lot of track time doing it that way. So it might be worth coming in a little bit early, building up a gap like Neil Pearson's done, and just taking advantage of that opportunity.
So with these guys here at the front, if Pearson comes in, Foster's going to, I'd say Foster will follow him in and to cover him off.
A little bit further back, Barry Neal has managed to get past Daniel Heddershide and make his way up to P3, but Heddershide is not leaving it. He's trying to get that place back as he just gives the wall a little bit of a rub there, but they are still battling so hard with each other, and every lap I'm just seeing the positions swap. Every time I take my eyes off it, they are swapping positions. A little bit further back for P5. Lachlan Urquio is closing up on Toby Stent now. He has got that gap to, well, you can see it yourself on screen. There is nothing between those two cars, and it won't be long until Urquio looks to be making the move up into P5 in this race.
Yeah, definitely a good run from Lockie tonight. He's definitely had a great night thus far. Certainly battling it out. We're going to go 3 wide, are we? No, Lockie drops down, across the inside of the D. Should come back out in front in the 5th spot.
See Darren McKenzie there. He is currently down in
27th
position.
Sorry, Joy Schultz is in pit lane. Joy Schultz is in pit lane, so he is the first one to pull the pin.
Okay, so, well, we said watch out for him on the off strategy, and he's taken advantage of that one. I was going to say, Darren McKenzie, he's on much fresher tyres. He's only done 26 laps on those ones compared to some of the other drivers that have done a fair few more. Of course, we saw him just getting out to the lead of the race, taking the off strategy option, but it's not really paid off for him in track position at the moment. He's struggling a little bit for pace, unfortunately, in that Mustang. You can see the slightly fresher tyres are really helping him out as he just gets past Lachlan Urquio. Now how fast Urquio is as Foster comes into pit lane. Foster has decided he's going to take advantage of the undercut here and jump up ahead of Pearson. This could be a risky move for the caution flag flies, this could absolutely scupper this strategy. So those cars coming in now are going to hope to see a green flag flying for the remainder of this race. Otherwise, it could be night over and done with for them.
Now, remember on Saturday night, Carl, we've seen Ed in the same situation. He was lucky and just got out before the caution flag flew. So let's hope we don't have a repeat of Saturday night for him.
As the cars are getting very, very tricky to drive as well. Neil Pearson just having a little bit of a moment passing Andy Barber. The car just got very loose on him in the mid corner, and he almost had a wreck there. He just saved it in the nick of time though. But yeah, the cars are starting to get to that point where they're on a knife edge. So if we're going to see a caution, it will be very shortly. Of course, there's more chance of a caution in pit stops because people might make a mistake coming into pit lane, or they might make a mistake exiting on cold tyres. It's always the point of the race where you're more likely to see caution flags fly. Ryan Jones and Adam Malone coming down pit lane now. So quite a few people making their final stops. So interesting to see how this one goes out. Now, what do you do if you're one of those cars that came in very late last time round? Do you take the fuel a little bit longer just in case there is that caution? Or do you pit now to cover people off?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I'd probably try and run that little bit longer because, as you said, this is the time where cautions are going to happen if they're going to happen.
Pearson coming into pit lane, I think. Yeah, Neil Pearson pitting now from the lead. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, I'd be running the longer strategy here. If you've got the fuel to run longer, and just keep an eye on your times with listen to your crew chief to see where you are with the cars around you.
Absolutely. Picking the right strategy is always a big part of the race. Barry Neal deciding it's time to come down pit lane. So he's going to be coming in. That's going to push Daniel Hederscheid back into the lead of the race. Mercurio closing up, though, on Hederscheid. There's only about 1.6 seconds between those two cars now. They're coming along nicely. Edward Foster has almost got his lap back. He's closing in quickly to get that magic lap back just in case the caution flag does fly. He's not there yet, but he's closing in on the gap for sure.
Yeah, if caution flew now, Ed's going to get caught with that lap down because Darren McKenzie's the first person that's a lap down. So it's a battle within a battle, really, because the guys are trying to get their lap back. So yeah, it's going to be interesting after this last round of pit stops because everyone will be fueled and tired to the end.
Dyson coming in pit lane now. He was one of those cars on the long strategy, so he's decided it's time to come in and make that stop. Who was that making a pit zero pit lane entry? He's still making a bit of a pit zero of it on the pit entry. It was Aidan Schultz, I think. He's had a big lockup. You can see the smoke hanging in the air there. Aidan Schultz just trying to get in pit lane, locks up heavily, and then gets almost on the grass, has to chuck it in reverse, and then gets it down the lane correctly. Just getting himself around the cone. That was a very tricky pit stop for Aidan Schultz. That's going to cost him a huge amount of time. Not what you want to have happen in a green flag stop. See that big lock up there, and then he has to maneuver himself back around so he doesn't get a black flag for entering pit lane wrong. And luckily, that did not bring out the caution flag. But that's the mistakes we're talking about that can easily happen in green flag stops and bring out that caution flag.
Yeah, what I found with coming into pit lane, that entry is really slippery. So you've got to get onto that outside edge and really slow the car down.
So Foster has got his lap back. Neil Pearson now working his way up towards Daniel Hederscheid. He wants to get his lap back as soon as possible. And I think he's about to get that option as Daniel Hederscheid is about to peel into pit lane here. We've got 36 laps remaining. Lachlan Urquio is going to be resuming the lead of this race in the 42 SRM car, Racing Awareness for Tourette's Australia.
So Lachlan's done, 40 laps. So he's got a maximum of probably 15 laps left in that tank. Same with Toby Stent and Ruben Phelps. So they're the guys that we've got to keep an eye on to see when they're going to peel off and take their final service.
You don't want to leave it too long, because the longer you leave it, the more you're going to have to overtake in the end, because you're losing time as you're out on track. Of course, those fresh tyres are going to be closing the gap, closing the gap, closing the gap, so you can't afford to lose too much time. You're going to lose about 40 seconds coming down pit lane, and then about an extra, about 50 seconds all in all. And currently that would put Urquio back out in around about P15. So, he's got to come in relatively soon, so not to lose all of that time that he's gained, because you're going to run out of laps to gain that time back as well. That's going to be the problem, is the longer you leave it out there, the less chance you've got of gaining that time back at the end.
Yeah, so looks Foster's been the first car down, the car that we're watching, and he's 23 seconds behind Lachlan Urquio. So Lockie kind of sort of needs to pull the pin and come down in very soon, because with this he'll have a short fill too. So,
but he's got to change all 4 tyres.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you've got a short fill. You're generally going to need to change all tyres, so that's going to take you 14 odd seconds. Of course, if the caution flag comes out now, he's going to be sitting extremely pretty. But it's, I feel like if you leave it too many more laps, you're going to struggle. So I feel like you've got to come down pit lane now or in the next lap or two. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. And I think that's what's happening now. Lachlan Urquio in pit lane.
And it looks like Ruben Phelps stayed out to do another couple of laps. So we've seen a few races ago where Ruben stayed out and
Mark, we've had a bit of an accident on track as well. Something's happened where almost the caution flag came out as contact between between Ryan Jones and Aidan Schultz. They've made contact with each other and sailing through the cones up into Maddie Ray. And also, did they catch Foster there? Sorry, was it Foster?
No, it's Nigel, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Nigel Patton.
Yeah.
Sorry, very similar paint schemes there. That was almost bringing out that caution flag that those guys needed. But that's a big accident to happen. And, no caution came out from it, but those 3 cars are going to be very much over and done with for tonight.
Yeah, just Matty Ray still in pit lane, and he's missing his right hand guard, so he'll be there for quite some time, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a lot of repairs needed. Those cars look very damaged indeed, so that's going to be painful for them. So Foster has retaken the lead of the race, 29 laps remaining, and we've had a relatively clean race so far without too many incidents, but as we just saw, they can happen. Not always bringing out the caution flag as well. Very lucky for a couple of drivers that caution flag did not fly. Lachlan Urquio managed to get out into 9th position, so he's going to have some nice fresh boots to get to the end on, but he's going to be having to catch a fair few cars now and get past them once again. So he's going to have to have done this the hard way tonight by passing an awful lot of cars, which he has done, but he's got to do it all over again now.
He's got 30 or 29 laps to do it in, so we've seen him make up 10 spots in 16, so he can definitely do it.
That is it. And look, one big gainer was Andrew Dyson in that one. He came in a little bit earlier than everybody else, and he's managed to jump up into P4, which will be P3 when Darren McKenzie comes down pit lane in the near future. Tell you what, McKenzie would have been praying for that flag to have been a caution, for that wreck to be a caution, I should say, because that would have made his race for sure. But as is motor racing, you know, sometimes things pay off, sometimes they don't, and it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. Meanwhile, up the front, the gap is closing a little bit. It's down to 1.2 seconds, and the gap is closing. It looks like Neil Pearson's got a little bit more speed over Foster. Of course, Pearson is on some fresher tyres by 4 laps, so this could be a real help for Pearson towards the end, and Foster could be paying for that earlier stop.
Yeah, but I think that Mustang's going to be about 6 foot wider than what it normally is.
It's not going to be the easiest car to pass on track for sure.
No, definitely not.
And in those couple of laps, Quero has moved himself up into P7 and he's closing in on Toby Stent once again. We said that before, he had to close that gap, and he's trying to close that gap once more. So he could well be in for a strong position tonight, and he would sorely love to get that car up into a podium position, but has to do a lot of work to get up there. The gap is closing. It's now under a second at the front. So Neil Pearson is absolutely eating away the tarmac and closing the gap on Foster here in Kansas for round number 12 of the ANZCAR Cup.
And I know Foster would like to have a win to secure that playoff berth.
Yeah, absolutely. It would just take a little bit, ease his mind a little bit. Currently, 4 drivers secured in the shootouts and playoffs are Dyson, Pearson, Stent, and Hedderscheid. So, you know, he would sorely love to be able to do that, but you've got to say at the moment that's not looking good because Pearson has got so much more speed over the 53. That gap is now to a point where Pearson's going to be striking any moment. This is the fight for the lead of tonight's race. 23 laps remaining here. And, well, Foster's going to have to really try hard to keep him behind him. Not much he can do, though, as Pearson's just got the tyres to just drive underneath the 53 of Foster. Does he make it through this time around? Not quite. Side by side as they come across the line. Pearson got the inside line, though. Looks like he's going to be able to break it a little bit later. Use those fresh tyres to an advantage. To slide up a little bit on Foster. It just comes up in front of him to block his runoff a little bit. Foster's going to be trying to bite back at this one. Does he have the tyres to do it, though? You see Foster is not giving up yet.
No, I think Foster will just sit there and play the waiting game, and we'll see him with the last 5 or 6 laps really have a run. Because we've seen this type of game from Foster before, where he just lets the guy go and goes, "You have that, I'll come back at you when it really matters."
That's it. Just looking at this, it does not look like he's able to hang on, though, because he's just losing time. He's half a second almost now behind Pearson, and Pearson's just able to run away with it. It looks like that early tyre stop is not paying off at this stage of the race. Darren McKenzie finally coming down to pit lane, and this is going to drop him down a fair few positions, unfortunately. Valiant effort, though, to run out there and trying to get a lucky caution. Did not come his way, unfortunately.
No, definitely hasn't been his night compared to last night, where he took that race at Mid-Ohio in the Xfinity cars.
42 of Oquio moving up into P5 now. He's managed to get himself back up into that spot, getting past Toby Stent. So just 4 seconds to close in on the gap on Daniel Hedderscheid, and you've got to say, with the pace he's been carrying, you would imagine that may happen. So we'll keep our eyes on those cars as the race unfolds. Just 19 laps remaining here tonight. some good battles still going on track as we've got Ruben Phelps and Stevie Dubb here battling it out. And this is for P7. Phelps on some much fresher tyres. He's really coming back at these guys now and flying his way through the field, moving himself up nicely through the pack.
Phelps is another one that's really gone under the radar tonight. We've seen him out in front there for a lap or two, then he's dropped back, but he's just got that little car speed again, the same as Lachlan, but just not quite as much speed in that car.
He's just been, he's saved a lot in the early stint. He was saving a lot of fuel and a little bit of tyres from that one and trying to get that car through a little bit longer. And, well, it may pay off. We'll see how it unfolds in the race.
And we see Darth Dyson putting a nice gap now on the fourth place to the Daniel Heddershot. It's now out to nearly 4 seconds. So Dyson's really has really stretched the legs there.
Yeah, it's just behind him is Brenton Henderson and Gary Wellman having a ding-dong battle at the moment. Those two are really fighting hard with each other. Great to see out on track, and you know, battles still going on throughout the field. It doesn't matter if you're up the front or down towards the back. The fights are still going on, heavy and fast.
Yeah, definitely. You want to get as many points as you can, because you want to try and get up to that pointy end of the championship. So if you don't get a win, you can get into the chase on points.
That is it. I've just noticed down in the care centre, we've got the 83 of Mr. Matty Ray. Might just bring him up and quickly have a word with the boss man at SRM. Matty Ray, do you copy?
Hey boys, how's it going?
It is going well, thank you. But look, we would much rather see that car out on track and have you battling away than up here in the box. We saw you were a bit of a passenger in a bit of an unfortunate incident.
Yeah, I know, right? Force was with me there, wasn't it, mate? Bloody hell.
Yeah, the glass shields did not hold, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just so unlucky. All of us had real quick cars tonight. We were coming, so yeah, it's disappointing, but that's racing, isn't it?
Well, what I want to ask you is, we're getting towards the very end of the race. It did look like the SRM cars were absolutely flying. We've seen a couple of your teammates. We won't put too much shine on them, just in case, because there's still some laps to go. But it did look like after they came into pit lane and did a couple of tweaks that they were absolutely flying on track.
Yeah, we've been making good adjustments all night, and yeah, the cars have been real quick. It's all working really well for us. So practice that we're putting in is paying off by looks, so it's good.
Well, fingers crossed we get to see that practice paying off and a little bit more luck coming your way in the future, Mr. Mary Ray, because it's been a bit of a luck-free run this season.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I need a bit of better luck. I'm trying to get up on top of Double D here, so that's a hard task on its own, isn't it? Bloody hell.
I swear he kicked a leprechaun or something when he was over in Ireland. That's just giving him a couple of thousand years bad luck. But yeah, it's been unfortunate. Hopefully, though, we will see your cars having a good run and up in some decent positions. And hopefully it will be yourself as well in the near future. Obviously, going to be seeing you out in the Warriors on the weekend.
Yeah, plate track. I love that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'll be there with bells on and probably running the same paint we're running tonight for the Star Wars round. So yeah, it'd be good.
I was just going to say, maybe it's because you got the Death Star on there that's not complete. Maybe you might better get someone to paint the completed Death Star on there, and you might have a bit more luck.
Is that because I wouldn't know, mate? I've never watched it in my life, to be honest. I saw this one, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty. Can I have that, Brendan? And so yeah, he did a bang up job on all of them. We've got some spares. I might even run a different one. He's done that many.
Just quickly on the paint jobs, obviously, who did them for your cars tonight?
Brenton did all the work. He's just like sort of learning it. I'm Ruby and myself are sort of teaching him whatever we can, and he loves it. He's just taken off, and yeah, spitting out bloody 10 paints a day some days. Just have a look at this, have a look at this. So yeah, he loves it, and he's real good at it, obviously. So yeah, he might be the new painter in the spray booth for SRM, I think.
Kicking Riley out, eh?
Oh yeah, I don't want to hurt Riley's feelings. I'll give him one or two retro or something.
Awesome job, Brent. Awesome job for the cars. Look, hopefully better luck next time, mate, and we'll speak to you in better circumstances.
Cheers, boys. Ta.
Buddy Ray there, of course, the boss of SRN. Just been having a bit of bad luck recently, and hopefully we'll see him back up in some decent positions in the near future. But one of his cars that's having a great run out there tonight is the 42 of Lachlan Urquio. He's closing the gap now on Daniel Hederscheid as they are closing the gap on Andrew Dyson. Could we see a ding-dong battle for P3 in the closing stages of this race?
Well, it's certainly looking that way. And we've seen Lachlan have the measure of Dyson earlier in the race. He's been out of in those battles that he's had to get round him.
That is it. They're about Lachlan's about half a second a lap, about 3 to 4 tenths quicker a lap than Andrew Dyson. So it's looking like it could be a real fight for the final step of the podium here tonight. 7 laps to go. It is, of course, the ANZCAR Cup here at Kansas, round number 12 of 36 here on Performance E-Streaming.
And you've really got to say too, Pearson's probably got this one in the bag as he's to lose with now nearly a 2-second gap over Foster. Just got to take it easy, pick your lines through this traffic that he's coming on, and just take it nice and easy.
Yep, you just got to keep the car out of trouble and keep it in a decent position as Lachlan Urquio is closing the gap very quickly here on Hederscheid. He is going to be looking to make a move in the near future, and this could be up to P4. He's made up 23 positions from his starting position, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I think he's passed around about 40 odd cars tonight, having to do it twice, and this is his 3rd attempt of passing cars. He's having a solid run. As he looks to go underneath here, Hederscheid as they get very close on the exit of 4. That's meant like he's just had to lift off a little bit there, let the gas off a tiny bit, just so that gap did not turn into a crash. And he'll have to go back for another attempt on that one. I've got to say though, his tyres are looking a little bit faster at the moment, and he's just able to take that inside line a little bit. But Hederscheid is not going to make it easy for sure. And while those two are battling, that's good news for the car ahead, Andrew Dyson.
Yeah, that definitely is. It will relieve some pressure from Dyson.
Hederscheid into the wall, sorry Mark. Big hit on the right side of the 035. That's closed the gap right up once again. This fight is getting very close here, and see it's closing up, and it looks like Dyson's going to be safe because we've only got 3 laps remaining. As Hederscheid collects the wall again, this is going to be Urquio's chance as they all make contact on the exit of the corner. A little bit of rubbing there, and rubbing is racing son, but Urquio's got the inside line. He's got a great run on Hederscheid at the moment. Up into P4 goes Lachlan Urquio. Does he hold the position? Round the inside, up on the high side is Hederscheid. Urquio just has to hold the car there. Coming off the corner, Hederscheid gets a better run off the corner here. Gets just a nose ahead there and keeps the spot. This is great racing.
Cool head from Lachlan there. He's definitely persevering with that low line. He can't really do much, and this time they switch. So Urquio doesn't have the legs just to get in front of him.
Just struggling at the moment, and he's got a good run off this corner. He's getting a great run off the exit of this corner. He's right underneath the spoiler of Hederscheid there. He's getting a great run as he goes underneath the inside there. Flies through. He's just got to hold it on that inside line. Hederscheid might get a better run off the exit here. It's going to be nose and nose as Hederscheid collects the ball. That's going to cost him as Lachlan Urquio makes the move up into P4. as Neil Pearson's taking the white flag, and he is coming to cross the line here tonight at Kansas. The 62 has been a lucky number indeed for this DPR car, as Neil Pearson takes the checkered flag and victory tonight. Foster will come home in P2. It's going to be Andrew Dyson bringing up the rear of the field in P3 tonight. That earlier stop really paid off for him. Lachlan Oakrio will come home a very strong P4 tonight. He said to me at the start of the race, if he gets the top 5, he's going to be happy with that. He should be delighted with the effort he's put in tonight. Daniel Hederscheid brings it home in 5th, with Toby Sent coming home in 6th position. Ruben Phelps bring it home in 7th. Stevie Dubb in 8th. 9th for Joshua Carroll Walden, and Ryan Jones brings it home in 10th spot.
Well, Lachlan's definitely should be wrapped with that, because he's come through the field 3 times tonight, so he really should be wrapped. I know he said, as you said there, Carl, that he'd be happy with the top 5, but yeah, he should be absolutely ecstatic at it.
I think he actually said top 10. I'm just checking my messages, and yeah, it was top 10. So he's going to be even happier with a P4 tonight. It was a solid run in that car, and he gave a lot of airtime as well for it as well. So perfect job. But the man that did a great job tonight was Neil Pearson. That early stop in the first stint and the later stop in the second stint paid off perfectly for Pearson as he comes home for the victory here tonight. So let us run through the finishing order for tonight's race here at Kansas. And as I said, it was Neil Pearson taking home the victory, up 8 spots in the race. Second place for Edward Foster. A solid run here tonight, just missing out on the top spot. Andrew Dyson, it's not his favourite track, but he had a strong finish here, bringing it home in 3rd, with Lachlan Oakrio in 4th spot. The biggest gainer of the race, 24 positions gained. Daniel Hederscheid in 5th, Toby Stent 6th, 7th for Ruben Phelps, Stevie Dubb in 8th position, Josh Carroll in 9th, and Ryan Jones comes home in P10. It's Adam Malone having a strong run in P11 with Joey Schultz in 12th, 13th for Brenton Henderson with Shane Bowen in 14th with Gary Wellman, 15th, Barry Neal 16th, after a bit of a moment, and unfortunate for him to see him dropping down to that position. Phil Otto comes home 17th with 18th, Norman Clark, Darren McKenzie 19th, and Andy Barber running out the 20. Nigel Patton brings it home in 21st, with Dave Douglas having a bit of an unlucky night, 22nd. Kobe Jordan, 23rd. Luke Georgeson, 24th. Riley Curtis, 25th. Christopher Zonman, 26th. Tristan Koch, 27th. 28th, Darren Lobb. Jamie Nankervis, 29th. Stephen Clennon, 30th. 31st for Matty Ray. Aidan Schultz, 32nd. Mirko Dornak, 33rd. And Tom Neal didn't make it to the start line.
Maybe Dyson should run that paint all the time here.
Yeah, it brought him a bit more luck tonight, that's for sure. And speaking of the man, let us bring up the 3rd place finisher for DPR. It is Mr. Andrew Dyson. Dyson, welcome back to the booth. You're back in the booth here at Kansas, but for a slightly different reason here tonight. Well done on P3.
Yeah, good as, man. Thanks for that, guys. Pretty happy with that one, to be honest.
A strong showing tonight, and you sort of timed your pit stop perfectly there at the end to nab yourself a top 3 finish.
Yeah, that last pit stop timing probably made the difference. And truth be told, it wasn't my choice. I actually hit the fence for like the 75th time in turn 4, turn 3. So it slowed me down enough where I'm like, I'm bugger. I was cut down and come in the pits, and it kind of worked out all right.
It was the lucky fence. It just, it rubbed off a bit of luck for you, and obviously the force was with you, and you called it in at the right time. So that's the good news.
Yeah, the force of the cushion just bounced me back down, showed me where to go, and I was like, okay, so I followed the light.
Did you have your eyes closed the whole race, just taking advantage there?
Yeah, I probably should have. I mean, if you watch my onboard, you would think my eyes were closed. Yes. I mean, I'm not. I'm just having a bit of a laugh, man. Seriously, like I hit the fence that many times, man. Like, dude, I'm surprised I didn't get a meatball, to be honest. But I was so annoyed at myself.
See, maybe you should run a black car more often because the bumps don't notice on it. So you get away with it a bit more.
Yeah.
No, but a really solid run here tonight. We heard from you the other night that this is not your favourite track and you weren't really expecting much from here. So coming away with a P3, you must be wrapped.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Especially like I messed up qualifying pretty bad, and I felt like I probably had a good enough handle on it to have a better qualifying than that. So anyway, that's 2 weeks in a row now I've messed up quali, which yeah, hasn't really hasn't really done me any good. But I guess it kind of worked out all right in a way, in that I was able to kind of sneak up on some guys at the end there with that, sort of early, like, intentional, non-intentional pit stop, kind of to make a bit of time up that way.
Absolutely. And just with the first stop, obviously under the caution, you came in just for a quick splash and dash. And did you change any much on the car?
Yeah, I changed the tyres, and obviously with that changed the pressures. But man, as you can see, I don't think it made that much of a difference, and there wasn't enough of a difference between fresh tyres and the tyres that started the race to really make a bit of a difference. So I was just flying around getting annoyed. Like, it's so hard to pass here, man. Like, and everyone's just doing their own thing, running their line. But I'm getting annoyed at people, but I'm getting annoyed at myself as well, because I can't pass. Like, it's just, and you just can't pass here. So it was difficult. But anyway, I think I made the right call in the end, because there was no more safety cars or pace cars. So I think I did the right thing there.
Absolutely. And for a place you can't pass, you did a good job of it in that first stint. You passed a fair few cars in that one. So it was quite entertaining to watch you battle through there with Lachlan.
Yeah, I used it all up. He was using it up as well, and I was using him up, and I used the fence up, used everything I could to try and get up there. And we ended up pitting in at exactly the same time. It was actually a bit awkward when we came into pits, because I knew that I had an early pit box because I messed up quali. And I think it turns out he mustn't have had too good a quali either, because he was cutting to the left, and then I'm trying to cut to the left to get to the left first. Then he pitted in. I was like, oh, okay, I understand why now.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was so good to watch on stream when you guys were pitting it.
yeah, I bet.
No, look, congratulations tonight, Di. So before I let you go, though, the usual thing, a shout out to just personal people in that respect. We'll make Pearson do the hard work.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, I'll make a quick shout out to Pearson. He was a big differ with the changes tonight, and he got in my ear and told me what to do. So that helped a lot as well. Tires and the rest of the stuff. So we'll do any other things you can do, the spring purchase. So yeah, helped out massively. Thanks for that. Cheers to all the boys for showing up for a race tonight, everybody out there. And cheers to you guys for putting it all together as always.
No worries. Congratulations again on P3 tonight, Di. So I'm sure we'll see you back in the booth in no time at all.
Fingers crossed, mate. See ya.
Andrew Dyson there for DPR, coming home strong P3 on a track that he was not enjoying at all. Next up, we're going to bring up our P2 man, a man that tends to like this track quite a bit. It is Natari's Edward Foster. Edward, welcome back to the booth, mate. Congratulations on a P2 tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne.
A very decent run out there for yourself, but just looked like maybe that earlier stop at the end cost you a little bit on Neil Pearson.
No, it wasn't that, mate. Neil made some changes in that last stop that have definitely sped him up. The undercut was definitely on, as we saw sort of in the mid part of the race. But whatever he did in that last stop just took off like a rocket. So
it was those changes that did it. Obviously, we saw a really strong showing from yourself and the team, having a fairly decent run all through the night up the front of the pack. But did you change much in your stops, or was that where you think you maybe lost a little bit of time?
I mean, I only made some small changes, but what I did change actually had the opposite effect to what I wanted. So, I did something which normally loosens the car up, and it just tightened it. So it was really pretty weird. But this is my best track normally. So I was thinking if I'm going to win anywhere this year and lock myself in the playoffs, it was going to be here. But if I can't beat him here, I'm not going to beat him anywhere, mate. It's pretty much like that.
A bit of a soul-crushing moment, isn't it, when stuff like that happens?
Yeah, a bit disappointed, mate, to be honest. Normally a P2, man, I'm pretty happy with, but this one I'm not that happy with. So, I'm just going to have to get over it. It's the way it is.
Oh, no, well, we can understand those feelings, mate. Look, I won't keep you up too long. So the usual thing, shout out and love to sponsors and people in general.
So obviously shouts out to the rest of the guys, you guys in the broadcast, and AJD, Fully Floored, and Turbo Alpha Japan as well.
Thank you so much. Look, congratulations on P2. Hopefully we'll see you back in the booth for a slightly better position in the near future, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Next up, we will be grabbing our winner, of course. That was Edward Foster and Natari. But it is Neil Pearson of DPR. The lucky 62 brings him a little bit more luck tonight. Is it luck or is it talent? We'll never know. But it is Neil Pearson. Neil, welcome to the booth, mate. Congratulations on a very solid win here at Kansas.
Thank you very much.
You have been flying this season, and tonight was no different. We just heard from Foster that some changes in that final stint turned your car into a bit of a rocket ship.
actually, I had it sussed before the race started. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that the car was just going to get ultra tight. Like, it's so tight, and I cannot drive a tight car fast. So, that's why I just sat back in the first stint till we got to that pit stop. And yeah, and then that worked out well for me. The changes really worked, and then I made a couple more, and the second stop, and away I went.
Oh, absolutely. The car was absolutely flying out there tonight. Obviously, we saw you dip into the pit lane a little bit later than Ed in that final stint as well. We just sort of worried about leaving it too long, long on the undercut sort of stuff, or were you sort of just going, no, I'll be all right?
Well, at the first stop, I think I had about 8 lap older tires than me, and he did manage to get within a second. So I was just trying to play it so we didn't have that sort of gap between us on the pits. I wanted to pit a couple of laps earlier, but there was a few people pitting that I thought might slow me down a bit on the entry, so I kept going a little bit longer than I wanted to, but it worked out. The car was fast, and I was able to put it where I wanted and just drive, and I managed to catch back up to Ed, and I was wondering how it was going to be to pass him, but yeah, I was just able to turn it down because the car would just rotate, and away it went.
Absolutely. We were sort of expecting some fireworks at that moment. We got a good little battle, but it didn't last too long, unfortunately. But it didn't look like the easiest thing to pass.
No, it's very hard to pass here. And I mean, after that first stop, there was some cars that came out like 10 to 15 laps after me. That really like hindered my pace early on and frustrated me quite a bit. Which is annoying, but they're entitled to the racetrack. If they're faster than me, they can take it. It's good. I just had to deal with it.
No, well, you did a great job of dealing with it tonight, bringing home a victory again for yourself. It's been a really solid season since you swapped the 62 onto the car. I think this is your fourth win.
Fifth, maybe.
Yeah. It's I'm looking at. I think it's fifth win. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's been a really solid start of the year, and it just seems to be going from strength to strength from you. You must be enjoying this new setup era of the cup.
Yeah, I am. Being able to work on the cars and just get them better to my driving is just really helping me out. Like tonight, like as I said in that first stint, the car I just can't drive it like that. That's why I qualified where I did, and yeah, I was able to come up through. And I'm doing this American series where we're actually running full open setup. So I think I'm learning quite a bit on adjustments there, which is also helping me out.
Oh, we don't want to hear that you're learning more because you're already absolutely mastering it here. So you learning more is a dangerous thing. Congratulations tonight, Neil. Well done again for the victory. But before we let you go, the usual thing, the love, the shout out to the sponsors and people in general.
Yeah, first off, just ANZCAR for the series, and you guys for the broadcast. Can't wait to go watch that. Simrigs.com, Southwell Lifts and Hoists, Ben Max Mechanical, Phoenix Smokers, NP Design, Ed and Daiso for the podium, and Lockie for another good run as well. He got fourth, so backing off his second from last week, I think. So there's a lot of people starting to come forward, which is good.
Absolutely. We love seeing the competition rising, and it's great when it gets closer up the top and people, it just, makes it more fun for everybody.
That's it.
Absolutely. Well done again, Neil, and congratulations. And I'm sure we'll see you back in the booth in the near future, mate.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much, Neil Pearson of DPR there. So, Mark, we're done and dusted for another race here at Kansas. It's round number 12, of course, and got, 36, so we've still got more action to come. And, as we said earlier on, we're going to be heading to the place where the stripe is strong next time out.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see who can come back in next week. There's we've seen some great guys really get a handle on these fine adjustments tonight. And it's going to be interesting to see who can pick that up at Darlington next time out for the ANZCAR Cup.
You're still having trouble with it.
Oh,
No, look, it's been a very strong race here, and hopefully we will catch you all next time out at Darlington. Of course, hit the subscribe button to get all the latest races here on Performance E streaming. Of course, we are done and dusted for the week, but there is still a race going on Saturday with yourself and Weekend Warriors, Mark.
yeah, it's our special round, our Star Wars round. So we'll be live from around just after 7 o'clock, about 7:15 or 7:20, and I know that most of our guys have got special liveries on this week. So, Carl, it'll be another fun night for us calling.
No, absolutely. We're looking forward to it indeed. But for tonight, we are done and dusted. So from myself, Mr. Carl Wilkinson, with Mark Johansson, and of course, Matty Hunter doing the hard work in the background, we wish you all a good night, and we will see you back here next week for some more cup action.